Let's get started. All right, thank you everybody for joining us today for the launch of the Education in Crisis and Conflict Network, or ECCN. Today on International Day of Peace, we are here to refresh and rebuild this community of professionals who are all working hard to advance peace in our world through education in crisis and conflict contexts. Hopefully, many of you were able to join the event just prior on monitoring return to learning, where we provided an overview on how to use USAID's Return to Learning Toolkit, focusing on specific tools that allow you to monitor who is returning and how to adjust programming to facilitate an equitable return. During the webinar, we also heard from our participants on resources and tools you are using for monitoring, as well as the challenges you are facing. This information will inform our future work together in ECCN and other networks, as the webinar was a first in a series of learning and engagement opportunities under a new learning system from USAID called the Leading Through Learning Global Platform. For those just joining us, I'm Margie Bott, Network Lead for ECCN, joined by my colleague, Cynthia Coons, Director of Network Development. Cynthia, can you come on camera and say hello to everybody? Great. All right. Before we get into the details of the network, I just want to quickly go over webinar norms. Most of us are familiar with this now, but make sure to mute your microphone and turn off your camera when you're not talking. And to note, this webinar is being recorded. You can post questions anytime you'd like in the chat function. Please try to keep them on topic. There is live closed captioning available. If you look on your Google Meet screen at the bottom, you will see a symbol with a CC on it. You can turn that on to receive closed captioning. And let's get started. For those of you just joining in, please add your name, your organization, where you're calling in from today to the chat so we know who you are. And before we talk more about ECCN, I wanted to hand it off to Cynthia to give us a little bit more context and background. Take it away, Cynthia.
Thanks, Margie. And it's so wonderful to see so many colleagues and friends in the chat. Welcome, everybody. And we're so glad that you could join us for this launch. I'm going to give a little bit of a background about the Leading Through Learning platform. The Leading Through Learning platform is a global education learning system for USAID and its partners to enhance thought leadership and education program quality. Our vision is to provide avenues for local, regional, and global knowledge generation and sharing, and importantly, to elevate the experience of the field in order to enhance education program quality. This is a USAID and project funding is 2020 through 2023 with the possible 2-year extension to 2025. This learning system includes 3 networks and 3 hubs. 1 regional hub is in Washington, D.C., and the other 2 are to be determined. The learning networks are focused on a particular technical area of emphasis for USAID, such as education and conflict and crisis, literacy, or higher education. And hubs are focused on a particular region, and they will help to localize the learning system and its products and events. Each learning network has regional hubs, has chapters in the regional hubs. What are the learning networks and hubs in detail? Well, these are facilitated groups of peers who document and share knowledge between donors and implementing partners in order to enhance thought leadership and education program quality, advancing implementation of the USAID education policy. Facilitated means there is 1 or more people with the mandate and LOE to manage the operations of the networks and hubs, such as launches, website design, communications, newsletters, recruitment, and meeting management. Open enrollment means that anyone can join any learning network or hub at any time, and it's free to be a member. Non-hierarchical means that there's no single network or hub leading the others. Collaboration is multi-directional across this flat learning system. Supply and demand means that needs and products are generated from all networks and hubs. They're user requested and user created. Networks and hubs have a steering group or a coordination committee to meet quarterly to prioritize, review, and update activity work plans, identify synergies and gaps across topics of interest and activities. All work of the networks and hubs are aligned with the USAID education policy and the US government International Basic Education Strategy. This is the wider system in which ECCN is connected, continuing the trajectory of shared learning established under the previous ECCN. Back to you, Margie.
Thanks so much, Cynthia. So I know many of you who are joining in today were ECCN members previously and are still ECCN members. And if you haven't rejoined the platform, please do so using the link in your chat that my colleague Anita just shared with you. We'd love for you to click on that link and rejoin us so that you can be connected again under this wider learning system. And for those of you who were previously connected with ECCN, we'd like to hear from you on how you interacted with ECCN in the past, so we can better understand how to facilitate future opportunities and modalities for connecting our work in the future. So please click on the chat feature please click on the bottom right corner of your Google Meet screen. There's a little, oh, sorry, I don't think we're doing the poll today. Apologies for that. So you see on your screen a question about how you engaged with ECCN in the past. So in the chat, if you could just type in the numbers that correspond to your response on how you engaged. So for example, if you received a newsletter or if you're a member of the steering group, then you would type in 1 and 4. If you uploaded resources, you type in 3. So just take a moment and write in the chat how you previously engaged with ECCN if you were a member. I see people popping in their answers. Looks like almost everybody received the newsletter, which is great. That's an excellent resource for information about what's going on at ECCN. If you didn't previously receive the newsletter and you would like to start receiving it, please go ahead and rejoin us. If you're choosing other, feel free to share with us specifically how you engaged with ECCN in the past. I see we also have new members, which is great. All right, lots of different ways in which people were engaged before. So my colleague Anita will share a link in the chat. If you'd like to click on that, you can rejoin ECCN, and you can also opt in to join the other networks that are within this education learning system as well. So many of you who were members previously may be wondering, what's different? What's ECCN then and now all about? So the previous iteration of ECCN was convened from 2014 to 2019 and provided a space for network members to connect on education and crisis and conflict topics. USAID mission staff, implementing partners, and others came together to co-develop and disseminate knowledge, information, tools, and resources at the global, regional, and country levels. One of many examples is that the ECCN engagement created USAID's Education and Crisis and Conflict Learning Agenda. The new iteration of ECCN has the same goals and remains a global network of members working together to advance priorities for children and youth in crisis and conflict affected environments. The new iteration offers members the same great platform, but with even more opportunities to connect across regions, as well as across 2 other learning networks, the Higher Education Learning Network and the Global Reading Network. This allows us to be more conscious and streamlined in considering the whole child's journey through the education system. As Cynthia mentioned, ECCN and the larger learning system advances these 4 USAID priority areas for education. As you can see as you read them, education in crisis and conflict is a cross-cutting theme. ECCN will collaborate with the Global Reading Network and the Higher Education Learning Network on the cross-cutting areas of interest to advance these priorities. The new learning system under which ECCN now sits will help us to better align our education and crisis and conflict interests with others working in the literacy and higher education spaces, as well as provide an opportunity to better connect us across regions of import for our sector through the regional hubs. So you may be wondering, what does network membership offer me? The free network membership offers you a platform to connect and collaborate with professionals across the globe, participate in learning events on new tools, join professional development opportunities on emergent topics such as social and emotional learning. These opportunities will be co-created and co-facilitated across 3 networks and the hubs with you, our members. There are some activities that are already underway that Cynthia will share more information about. Cynthia, can you tell us about the ongoing activities?
Sure, but first, just generally a note about how to engage with the Leading Through Learning platform. You can, of course, join, and as has been mentioned several times, we are asking everybody, even if you were part of a network before, to join again now so that we have your updated information. You can register for events such as the webinar that preceded this launch. You can enroll in professional development courses. Some of these are live, some of these are pre-recorded. And you can co-create knowledge products or events by engaging in current activities and in the 2022 call for activities. Stay tuned for more details on that. I'd like to go into a little bit of detail about the current activities, what our platform is doing together, and how ECCN members can engage. Currently, we have 14 activities that are part of the Round 1 activity group, and they are moving forward across the 3 networks that Margie just mentioned. We have started with a few of the resources that were already developed by the Center for Education in order to enable us to restart the networks and mobilize engagement. Here are some of those activities listed on the slide, and I'll just give you a few concrete examples of how to engage. So ECCN members can participate in stakeholder consultations, such as that will be held for the gender landscape analysis and the education finance conceptual framework. ECCN members can also apply to be consultants for deliverables. A call for these applications will go out soon via listservs, websites, and newsletters. So again, please make sure that you register on the website. You can also share your resource. We really want to hear from members about what's working for you and what are your lessons learned. So you can share these best practices on with the network on a webinar, a webcast, a consultation, or training, and we're happy to help you facilitate that. There's a specific opportunity that's unique and available to the ECCN members and other members, but relevant to this topic of COVID-19. We can do an assessment on what gaps exist in our current global response and develop together tools and practices that can address unmet and emerging needs. More details on the current 14 activities, there are some in addition that I haven't had time to mention, will be posted on the website soon and announced to members, so make sure you register and bookmark these websites. And as I mentioned, following this round 1 of 2021 activities, there will be a round 2 in 2022. And members will be engaged in shaping that agenda and identifying the priority gaps and activities to address those gaps. Margie, can you tell us a little bit about what's specifically coming up for ECCN members?
Absolutely, thanks, Cynthia. So the opportunities Cynthia mentioned span across the 3 networks. For ECCN opportunities specifically, if you haven't signed up yet, please click join to receive our quarterly newsletter, where we'll highlight important upcoming events and opportunities in the ongoing activities and more. The next event is a webinar on USAID's resilience in the return to learning during COVID-19 case studies. The research team will join us to share insights and promising approaches that could be leveraged for improving education outcomes during a crisis. We hope you can join us for that. Please look out for the dates on that on the ECCN website. There's an events tab. You can look at, if you're signed up for the newsletter, you'll get the information there, or any of the listservs if you're joining in. So specifically, you can rejoin the ECCN via the link in the chat. You can also opt in to receive information and opportunities on multiple networks, not just ECCN. You can forward the ECCN join link to colleagues who you think may be interested. As well, you can refresh your knowledge on USAID's approach to education in crisis and conflict on the EduLinks website, which we just shared in the chat as well. So that concludes our presentation about ECCN and what's different and new. We'd like to take a moment to answer any questions you all have. So if you could just raise your hand, we will call on you, and Cynthia and I will do our best to respond. Let's see, let me take a look. I see Phoebe has a question. Phoebe, can you come off mute?
Yeah, thank you. Sorry, that was a mistake. Thank you anyway.
That's okay. Thanks, Phoebe. All right, does anybody have a question? Please raise your hand using the function at the bottom of your screen. I also see questions coming in the chat. Let me take a look. Susan is asking, when will this recording be shared? So after this launch event, we'll work on getting the recording finalized as well as the presentation. And if you registered for the webinar or the launch event, you'll receive the recording with the presentation in your email inbox. I see a question from Sierra. Will tools like the monitoring toolkit be available in other languages? That's a great question. We also had that question in the webinar. That's a great idea. The toolkit is not available in other languages at the moment, but we can look into that. It's a great call. I see there's a question from Dean. Is there a communications package that can be shared through INEE's biweekly bulletin? Yes, of course, we're very much aware of the INEE biweekly bulletin, and we're excited to send out some information in your direction, Dean, soon. So look out for that. We want to engage INEE members as well and share all of the good resources we'll be working on. I see there's a question. Can you say a bit more about the pre-primary landscape research opportunity that was listed in the previous slide? So there, all of the items that you saw on the slide and additional activities that are currently underway, we're compiling all of the information about each of those activities, as well as ways in which you can engage in each of those activities. And we'll be sharing that information all together via our newsletter and our website. So look out for that information. It's to come. We have a little bit more time to take any questions. If anybody feels comfortable coming off of mute and asking, that's also fine. But if not, please feel free to continue to add questions to the chat. Does anybody else have any questions about how you can engage ECCN, or any questions about the learning system that we talked about? We can give folks a couple more minutes to type into the chat. I see a question from Gwen. Can you say more about the regional hubs? Cynthia, do you want to take that one?
Sure, thanks, Gwen. So the intention of the regional hubs is to provide a body that is closer to our service delivery area and really localize some of the products and tools, but also identify the gaps and demands from people that are based in the country offices or in the missions. And so we will be looking to identify locations where there are groups of people interested in hosting a regional hub. And they will function similarly to the networks in that the meetings will bring together multi-stakeholder groups, USAID and partners and others, to assess needs and to co-create responses to those needs. And the members will be able to direct and co-design their own activities and work plans that can participate in that 2022 activity cycle that I mentioned. And I see a question about how ECCN is different from INEE. This is an interesting question. I don't know, Dean, we have the director of INEE online who might want to say. I would say ECCN is a project funded by the US government. And we certainly are looking forward to collaborating with INEE and bringing together multiple stakeholders and partners of USAID and projects. So I think it will be a very close relationship. Dean, do you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, I'm happy to. Just to say, yeah, it's very much ECCN is focused on partners of USAID, and many are members of INEE as well. So there's a real close collaboration where possible. Looking forward to following up with you, Cynthia and Margie, on ways we can collaborate. Exciting to see the focus on regions, something INEE is also looking at, because it's, as you said, really key to connect to where the work is actually happening. And this is a great initiative. And yeah, but definitely we're learning from each other throughout this process. So thank you.
Thank you, Dean. I see a good question from Chris as well about opportunities for engaging young and emerging professionals in the education emergency sector. Thinking about some amazing students I work with at TC. Yes, absolutely, that's a great idea. We'll definitely keep you and that idea in mind as opportunities emerge. And yeah, we'll be reaching out to you, Chris. All right, so on that note, thank you so much for everyone who joined in for this launch event. I am so excited to be taking this community forward as your ECCN lead, and with the support of Cynthia and others on the team, of course, my other colleagues with the other learning networks as well. We're excited to bring you back into the loop on education in crisis and conflict and other learning systems. So, oh, I see another question. Jen says, building from Chris's comment, hoping the regional hubs can do the same for young professionals located and from the areas in which we work. Absolutely, Jen, great point. Thanks for sharing that. Okay, so Susan will be sharing out this recording and the PowerPoint presentation. If you haven't done so already, please do rejoin us using the link in the chat that Anita provided. Anita, can we share that link one more time with everybody? And thanks everybody for joining in. We look forward to connecting with you in the future. Have a great rest of your day, this International Day of Peace, and take care. Thanks for joining.